As the title of the video suggests, I'm interested in exploring this popular idea that you are the product of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Personally, I think that most people aren't super careless or super deliberate about who they associate with. There's billions of people on this planet, let's say millions in your country and maybe even millions within a commuting radius of where you live if you're in a metropolitan city. Yet when it comes to finding friends or a romantic partner or a co-hobbyist, how many people are we really sampling through before settling on someone that we will associate with for years? How many people do you have dates or flings with before committing to a relationship with them? 10? 5? 3? Just 1? If you're looking to find someone to finalize the roster of a team, how many people do you consider for the position? How many candid conversations with strangers do you have before they become a friend? Are you picking super carefully based on data from thousands of conversations you've had this year? How many conversations have you had with strangers this year? How many people have you actually met? We tend to buddy up with people that meet certain baseline criteria and then not worry about the rest until we're further into the relationship. And this is a very reasonable strategy. If everyone had to interview 100 people before settling on who's going to qualify for investing a connection with, many of us would just throw our hands to the sky and go, why even bother? If our entry requirements for making connections with people are super rigid and strict, we're going to risk making no friends at all and living a very lonely life. So I'm going to steer away now from this hypothetical of who would you hire type of outlook on life, and I'm going to simply ask you to look at who the 5 people are now that you currently spend the most time with. For many of us, at least one of those 5 people will be a family member. If you're a young person, you've probably been interacting with someone like a parent or sibling for multiple hours a week for your entire life. Perhaps you might spend more of your time now with somebody that you choose to associate with, like a friend or a romantic partner, but in comparison, those connections have likely only been around for a few months or a few years, whereas a connection with a parent is often something that lasts for at least 18 years. So this is where I will stress the idea that no one can escape the influence of your parents. They are your first model for what normal is. And this brings us to the core spirit of this 5 persons theory, that you're influenced by these 5 people somehow, just because you do spend time with them. The way in which you're influenced by them could be very different. You could be influenced by them in a way that makes you more like them, or in a way that makes you rebel and act in opposition to them. But either way, they're influencing you. And when we think of how someone is, their qualities, we tend to think of their most visible traits and how they express themselves outwardly. Are they funny, talkative, shy? Perhaps a person who grows up in a household of quiet people is more likely to be quiet themselves, and a person who's always hanging out with a group of clever jokesters is more likely to be or become funny. This is probably the first layer of analysis when it comes to our relationships, because the outward expressive side to a person is the part of them that you can't avoid. The way a person talks and their mannerisms are always present in your interactions with them. But what about the aspects of the person that aren't always so visible? The parts of them that belong to their inner world? What about the things that they don't share, or they only share with people they're very close to? For example, is spending time with a person who is hiding a large secret more likely to influence you to become secretive or simply suspicious of secrets yourself? Is that possible, even if you have no idea that they have a secret? Can less visible traits rub off on you in the same way that the more obvious ones, like being funny or shy, do? When a relationship or connection first develops, you're of course less aware of the person's less visible traits. Can you predict how they're going to handle conflict, or a tragic situation, or a falling out between 2 of their own friends? We typically only get to see how they're going to handle those situations after a certain level of baseline connection has been established. Only by advancing through those preliminary stages of the relationship are you able to access what we might call seeing someone's true colors, when you get to see deeper into that person than you were able to from first glance, for better or worse. But I often find in these moments of true colors, such as, for example, seeing a friend being callous or unempathetic to someone in a tough conversation, or seeing a romantic partner act faithful in a moment that tested their loyalty, that once you have seen what you have seen, you can't unsee it. After seeing it, now you can always see those fragments of their true colors throughout their more superficial behaviors. You might notice how small comments they make in conversation really allude to their true feelings that are much more charged and extreme than the comment would seem to convey when you analyze that comment in a vacuum. So, because you are closer to them, you're now able to see their true colors in those more superficial moments. So couldn't you hypothetically be able to be savvy enough to pick up on those subtle signals that are conveyed in those superficial moments before you become close with them? It may be difficult to do earlier on in our lives, but as we develop more relationship experience with people, we can accrue more knowledge about what kind of visible signals correlate with deeper but less visible traits. This is what colloquially people call detecting red flags or green flags in a person. For me personally, the longer that I look at my own life and the 5 people I interact with the most, I only find it more and more insightful in that I can get a lot of answers explaining why I am the way that I am currently, for better and for worse. And so once we start noticing these 5 relationships and how they affect us, we might want to change them. So let's ask, how do relationships typically come and go from our lives? 2 common ways that a relationship could dissipate are as follows. The person either gets pushed out from your life gently because your connection with them loses priority over a new bond that you've made that has stronger magnetism. Or we might experience a dramatic negative situation which causes one of us to not want to spend time with each other anymore. In the case of the dramatic negative situation that causes a rift between 2 people, there are almost always warning signs that have gone ignored before that critical event pushes things over the edge. When you continually put off fixing a leaky faucet, one day you might find yourself walking into a flooded kitchen. And sometimes this is just how we act. Sometimes we want to wait. Sometimes we want to wait and see if that faucet is going to get its act together or if it will finally disappoint us. And sometimes we are the provider of disappointment too, waiting to see if we'll hold it together and rise to the positive challenges of the other person or fail to meet their standards. Let's say you and I are having a conversation, and you might be telling me about your dreams. You might be telling me about your afflictions or woes. You might be telling me just about how you're feeling lately. A good question I could ask that may actually be very relevant to all of those things is, what are your relationships like? Who are the 5 people you spend the most time with? What are they like? Is the way you rub off on each other helping you actualize your dreams? Are those people enabling you in unhealthy ways? Are you enabling them in unhealthy ways? Are they people you want to be more like? Because you're probably going to become more like them if you spend time with them, even if it's just nudging the needle 10 or 15%.